99% of the people who do Halloween today, they don't associate this with any kind of religion. And kids, for them, Halloween is fun, it's candy. Halloween, I'll be honest with you, it is one of the most difficult holiday for me to have a very solid opinion about. It carries messages that is unacceptable. Can you imagine, Sheikh Ammar, if Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr, we go to Eid and we dress our kids with like monsters and knife and cut off hand and blood. What the world will say about Muslims? Clearly against our beliefs, clearly it is haram, clearly it is problematic for us as Muslims.
So Halloween is one of the most, I don't know if there's any particular religious connotation that the average person thinks of. When they think of Halloween, they're not thinking of anything religious per se. They're thinking of dressing up in costumes, and they're thinking of maybe getting candy if they're kids. What would the ruling then be on Halloween?
Halloween, I'll be honest with you, it is one of the most difficult holiday for me to have a very solid opinion about.
Allahu Akbar. Okay.
And it took me a long time of thinking, and many times I refrain from sharing even a position about it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that the AlMaghrib Podcast is where you're sharing an opinion about it.
Yeah, I shared recently, Jenny, in different platforms, talk about it as well. But I'm putting this introduction to understand, for me, it is not like this particular one. It's not like a clear cut, clear cut haram, clear cut allowed,
Okay.
Because, why? First of all, because Halloween, as you said, when you talk about Halloween as a celebration today, nobody associate Halloween, not nobody, any 99% of the people who do Halloween today, they don't associate this with any kind of religion background or religious background. It is mainly for fun, for candy, for just, silly stuff that they do. And with this in consideration, the other argument would say, no, this Halloween originally has a religious roots into it. And that religious root goes all the way to the Celtic,
The Celtics, yeah.
Celtic and the Irish and Old English, culture like groups and religious that is basically in the Iron Age or medieval time, where they used to do pagan practices and things of that nature. And it used to be at the 31st of October, because for them that was the day where, for them, like the world is light and dark. So that's the end of the light and the kind of the dark, because it's the end of the summer and spring, and that's the summer and now the winter. So that's the dark.
Yep.
And they said in that day, the barrier between the dark and the light became blurry, and that's why also a lot of souls comes to visit people. So that's why they used to put these scary images to keep the bad
Spirits
away, and the good spirits come and eat with their family, join family at homes. This whole entire idea.
Yeah.
When Christianity came, and I think it's the 7th century, something like that, the Christianity, they have a celebration it's called All Saint Day and
All Hallows Eve.
All Hallows Eve.
And All Saints Day, yeah.
Yeah, so, and that used to be November 1st, then there is November 2nd, there's another thing. So it was originally actually in May. They moved it to these particular days to replace and to change the pagan practices that exist to associate it with Christianity.
That happened a lot with Christianity, that they would absorb the local pagan customs.
To change them for the intent of, let's change them. And I think that's historically something interesting for us to know, the wisdom in Sharia when it says not to celebrate any religious or to associate ourselves with any religious celebrations, because of the kind of be blurry and things can be mixed up.
Yep.
And that's why when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when a man said, Ya Rasulullah, I made a nether to slaughter this camel in this place, he said, Afiha wathanun yu'bad? You know, just if you
there
have
an idol that's
Eid,
worshipped
it
there?
has idol that worship. It was Eid for them. It's a place of celebration, recognized as a special place for them. He said, no. You know, so that question shows if it is, you're not allowed to do, because you don't want that to be mixed, you know. And Sharia cares so much about this, not to mix the Islamic ritual with non-Islamic ritual. So anyway, going back to this area. So that was trying to transformation for it. But even with this, today, a lot of Christians, they don't associate Halloween with any Christian background. It's for 31st October.
Sure.
No pagans. So if this is something was celebrated in the past, and not anymore, some practice was haram in the past, and now in modern days is not haram at all. People change completely. The culture completely shifted.
Yeah.
Do I still give it to the same rule of the past or not?
No.
Not necessarily like 100% no, not 100% yes.
Okay.
I have to look at the issue itself. If the Sharia have a specific ruling related to it, okay? Like identify this as haram, identify this as wajib, identify this as you are allowed or not allowed to do, it remain even if the culture change.
Okay.
Like for instance, Sharia criticized Fir'aun wa Haman. But no, today no Asian believes. Can I do some pharaoh practices or call somebody Fir'aun? No, not allowed, because that name specifically in Sharia became a symbolic for something in Sharia. Zulm, injustice. You cannot, even if the culture changes.
I'm Egyptian and I want to celebrate the ancient Egyptian culture that I have and all of that. I still can't.
It depends what you mean by celebrate.
Pharaonic. Okay.
But it's still, the name Fir'aun is haram.
I want to name my soccer team Fir'aun or something like that. Fara'ina.
No, not allowed. And it's not that. Basically, that became a symbolic. In Sharia, it is something that it is known as something evil and bad. The same thing, for example, of the Sharia. In fiqh, for example, we know that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he made the sa'i between the Safa and Marwa, he said to the Sahaba to show the right shoulder. He said, I want the mushrikeen to show that you're strong and young. But no mushrikeen today watch it.
Yeah.
Should we cancel this? No, because the Sharia order us to do that. The running. So that rule has to remain. We don't say since the circumstances change, we just change the rule. He said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, khalifu al-Yahud wal-Nasar. In that time, might be the practice that they're religious or they don't grow beard, and then the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam be the opposite, grow their beard. But what if they now grow beard? Do we shave it? No.
Yeah.
Because that became a hukum, a ruling that established in Sharia.
In and of itself is a ruling now.
We don't have in it in itself something specifically about this particular day to say haram to celebrate. Okay? And I cannot just establish the prohibition of celebrating the 30 or participating in fun activity on the 31st of October because in some way in the past they used to consider it a pagan belief.
So,
give you another example just to make things more effective. I heard Sheikhna Allah yarhamah Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd argue that tie is haram.
Yeah.
And I think Sheikh Al-Albani also mentioned something like that. Why? He said because in the old days, tie, it was a type of shawl that the soldier will have, and the priest will put it in certain way to represent Trinity.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that time, but tie today, nobody ever associate that with Trinity. Nobody ever think that. Even if historically that's correct, nobody can say that this is, when you look at tie, you don't associate that at all. The association completely
has been dismembered or cut off.
Cut off.
Absolutely.
Beads, subha. Nobody connect this to the Buddhist monks.
Yeah.
And Buddhist Christians, they said, took it from Buddhist. And Christian rosary, yeah. And Muslim took it from, nobody today, when they use this among the Muslims,
thinks of it like
thinks of that like that. So the connection is completely cut off. So in my opinion, it's very hard to say because this originally blah blah blah,
Yeah.
unless this Islamically said this particular practice is haram, it's not.
Sheikh, you know, the famous example of that is Nike. Nike, the name Nike is named after the Greek goddess of victory.
Yeah.
But 0% of people connect that name to that idol that used to be worshipped.
One sister, her name Denise, she told me that somebody told her, Haram, your name is Haram. Why? Because Denise is one of the Greek mythical gods.
I see.
You know, it's nobody ever exists to that. And unless we have something in Sharia saying that this particular practice, this particular day, this particular thing, you're not allowed to do this or allowed to do that, okay, we keep it. But nothing, it's changed by the changing of the culture. So going back, so that's the aspect of, is this day, Halloween, related really to a religious entity or religious practice or not? For the longest time, I always think, no, it's not. Because I don't see anybody doing this. Until I was talking with Sheikh Kamal about this a few years back. And he was telling me, Sheikh Waleed, no, still there is people practice this.
Yeah.
As
yeah.
you know, as a pagan, you know, rituals, and they believe in that, and there is people until today celebrated it this way. Yes, they are very, very, very small group, but still exist. So the claim that does not exist and cut off completely, like the Greek,
They call it the day of Samhain. It's a day where they worship.
Yeah. So that what led me to say, you know what, that's where the confusion for me came. So that's why I would say it still have some religious connections, so you should not celebrate. Let's assume there is no connection. Let's look at Halloween in itself as a practice of a non-Muslims.
But Sheikh, even before
this is
that,
not a culture of Muslim at all.
Yeah, but just even before that, Sheikh, like when you say, or when we say that there's a very few amount of people who practice, like at what point does it become so small that it becomes insignificant? Does it require that they completely nobody on earth practices it? Or what if it's 1,000? What if it's 10,000? What if it's 50,000 people on earth?
I think it will be different from one country to another.
Okay.
So if I live in a country and there's people celebrate that or do this, will be different than I live in a country who have no clue that this even exists. So that's how it'll be the case. So, you know, let's not jump to the conclusion. I'm just trying to explain to you and to the viewer why this took a lot of thinking from me.
Yeah.
Let's assume there's no religious connections.
Sure.
At least right now, in the modern days. Let's look at it itself. Okay, for non-Muslims practices, for non-Muslims holidays, what's our position from it? Any non-Muslim practice or holiday, which is not religious, we look at it. If it contains something mubah, it is mubah. If it contains something permissible, it's permissible. Contains something bad, it's bad. Haram, it's haram. We will look at Halloween. What's the message of Halloween? You know, yes, it's candy and fun and stuff like that.
Demons, goblins,
but
monsters.
also there's a lot of messages in it, un-Islamic.
Yeah.
Which is the concept of demons killing and you know,
Witches,
violence,
magic,
and begging for food. There is risk. You know, in 1930s, there was a whole entire movement in America to ban Halloween, and there is books written about trick and treat because the concept of treat became, you know, actually a tricking kids and tricking people.
Putting
and
dangerous things in the food.
Yes, and people killed and a lot of like awareness were made about that. That's why a lot of churches, they don't celebrate Halloween. A lot of Christians, you know, ban, you know, their members from celebrating Halloween. And it's a very significant number of Christians actually, you know, oppose that. Religious practice in Christian churches in the world. Anyway, if we look at the messages of that carry by, you know, witches and like demons and like, are these something in Islam recognized as something good? No. And also, it carry messages that is unacceptable. And I always say, it's very ironic. Can you imagine, Sheikh Ammar, if Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr, we go to Eid and we dress our kids with like monsters and knife and cut off hand and blood and like stuff like that. What the world will say about Muslims?
You say we were like super evil and
Super
dark.
terrorist, evil, bloodthirst,
Yeah,
But for Western, it is like fun.
of course.
But for us, it's like, you're unbelievable.
Barbaric.
How you can you teach your kids that? But I see a kid walking in the street in Halloween having like a heads on his hand, like, what kind of message
Decapitated,
is that? If like Muslim kids will do that, they will call him ISIS.
Of course.
So it just completely double standard,
Yeah.
And I think it is bad thing. That's not good scene for kids. So the message for it, it is bad. And the message it carries is not good. The whole concept of going and asking people and begging people for food and stuff like that, for candy, it's not something recognized to be something encouraged, at least.
Okay.
So from that perspective, I have confidence on something that should not be celebrated by Muslims. Okay? And it's not correct. From that perspective, it's clear to me. But you might say, what if somebody celebrate Halloween without any costume that involve things like that? Just
their
candies.
Costumes are nice
just
costumes.
like,
They're-
a butterfly or a bee or like, or a fighter or something like that.
Exactly.
Would be that. Okay. So we'll say that will drag us back to the concept of, it is not part of our culture as Muslims, and I don't think Muslims should celebrate Halloween.
Sheikh,
I
when you
don't
say
think Muslims should be part of that celebrating of Halloween. It just does not send the right message, and there is no need for us to, look into this in a way that I have to adjust it to fit in. But with this being said, I think the bottom line of this discussion, people treat Halloween in the same way they treat, for example, celebrating a very clear theological, like
Christmas.
like for example, like the rise of Jesus, or like the crucified Jesus, like something clearly against our beliefs. Clearly, it is haram. Clearly, it is, theological problematic for us as Muslims. I think this is not as bad as it is the other one. But I do believe in the bottom line is not allowed. I do believe that there is association with certain belief that's not correct, like demons coming in to hunt people and stuff like that. No, we believe it as Muslim. There is evil demons spread, and
You're not trying to dress up like one and celebrate it and make it look cool.
But for you to celebrate also the concept, which is like as something that is cool and or protecting yourself from evil through fire and stuff like that. That's not how Muslim should address this concept. There is a lot of mixed messages in the mind of our kids that it's not good. That's why we should not encourage our kids to do that. We should have a conversation about them.
But Sheikh, when you say that it's not part of Muslim culture, we've already categorized Halloween as being non-religious. So it shouldn't matter whether it's part of Muslim culture or not, because Muslims are American culture. That's their culture. They're not looking at it through the religious lens anymore. They're looking at it through the cultural lens. Do you see? So it's like just like Thanksgiving isn't part of Muslim
Americans
culture.
have a unique culture. It's mixed with American culture and Islamic culture as well. And I don't think Halloween free 100% from the religious connotations, because there is still religious connotation as associated with it, even if it's not about worshiping idols or satanic worshipers or like practices, but there is still religious concepts. Religious concept, it means something has to do with the world of unseen, and part of that the demons and the souls and the all this part of i'tiqad, part of the
Your belief, yeah.
the belief system. So it is associated with it, but not in the degree of celebrating crucifixion or celebrating, a Buddhist birthday or like salvations or going to an idol to worship or to, celebrate something of that nature.
Of course.
And there is one aspect of the issue of Halloween. I think it is so important for our audience to keep in mind. So I think you kind of alluded to it. When it comes, this is a discussion between adults.
Sure.
But when it comes to discussion with kids,
Yeah.
it's a completely different story.
Of course.
Kids, their attachment to Halloween is an emotional attachment. It's not a theological attachment. And kids, for them, Halloween is fun, it's candy.
Absolutely.
So you can't just come and say, Islam said it's haram. What you going to do? Islam associated with no fun, no candy.
Yeah.
That's how it will be heard. So you have to be careful how we talk to our kids about this. Just lecturing them, it's a pagan belief. Your kid who was like in elementary school said, pagan, what word are you coming
Yeah.
from?
What does pagan mean?
What is this? Nobody worships that. What spirits you talking about? They're not going to have
He
that.
wants to be Spider-Man, and he wants to then go and get some candy from some neighbors.
And I think a lot of our kids have this hunger, and that it's a natural thing to have fun and costumes and stuff like that fun. But I think if we work during the year in fulfilling our kids' need, of the fun, of the activities, of the fun things for them.
Making
and
Eid special
make
for them.
Eid specials, even make days they can wear costumes and stuff like that on other days, as long as because even in costume clothes, there's certain guidelines in Sharia for it. But even if they do that, when it comes, it's not something, I did this a month ago, 2 months ago. And I think for Muslims who live in America, and that's where the culture comes, they need to do this more than a Muslim who live outside America or outside a country where Halloween is very visible.
Of course.
Because they need to fulfill that need of this type of fun. So when it comes, they don't feel like, I'm deprived from that. I already had that. I already have something like this.
Sheikh, Eid in the Muslim world is fun. Eid in the Muslim world is incredible. Like the families, the meat that you eat, Ramadan is just such a season in the Muslim world. And so I agree 100% that if you're living with your family in non-Muslim countries, then you have to overcompensate for the fact that they're surrounded with societies where they're a minority. And so you have to figure that out. Sheikh, what about people who are, so we're kind of grading Halloween as less problematic than some of the others that we're going to get to.
Still not allowed to
Still not allowed.
Celebrating initiated, to be,
Excellent.
what we do in the masjid, the Halloween,
But I want to put now your fatwa hat on, the AMJA hat, so to speak. And now I'm someone who's working in my company, and the team leader says, the manager says, hey guys, the team together, on Friday, we're all dressing up and we're putting on our costumes. What am I doing in that moment? Am I saying, you know what, Sheikh Waleed kind of said that it's less problematic, so or what do I do?
And do you want to put a costume to come in
You
the
could
day?
be smart on Jummah and say, okay, I'm going to dress up as a mufti and I'm going to come in my thobe and my, or figure something else like that.
In the day of the Halloween?
Yeah, on the day of Halloween, on Halloween day, that everybody in the company is dressing up. So what am I doing then?
I wouldn't participate.
I'm getting a religious exemption.
Yeah, I wouldn't participate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, how about this?
Same thing as school for kids.
Same thing as school. I'm not dressing up for Halloween. Okay. Now, Sheikh, I'm at home, and I know you said tonight.
But I have to compensate for that.
What do you mean?
For the kids. I have to make sure that they have other funds. I have to make sure, but let's say, I found that this will have a great deal of negative impact on my kids.
Or my work.
On my work. I don't think it's one of the major harams. It's one of the, even if it is in the category of haram, it will be in the lower category, just from minor sins. The minors, like what I think the importance of this conversation is, don't treat it like kufr and shirk, and like some people like bring all what Ibn al-Qayyim said, it's worse than drinking al-khamr and eating pork, and like putting all this together as, oh, this is like, and you will become one of the kuffar if
congratulating
you do it,
somebody on a
and like treating
holiday.
it like I know people in my community celebrate and go dress up and go on the street. I don't have and I don't do that, but I'm not gonna like get out of my way to say, no, this is haram and wrong. Just take it like I don't
this
say
this is a really important topic, which is being able to differentiate between things that are kufr versus being able to differentiate between things that are major sins, and being able to differentiate between things that are minor sins. Because a lot of times our community just speaks about everything like it's major. And that's not to belittle minor sins. We're not trying to make minor sins insignificant. But at the same time, there are certain things that just living in the real world, you're going to be exposed to.
You have to make that choice between lesser evil, and how can you make lesser evil and more benefit?
Yeah.
It's based on these categorization. Even minor sins are not the same.
Mm.
For
and
me,
minor sins get purified by your wudu, by your salah, by
nobody
purified throughout the day.
Like immune from it. For me, I'll be honest. Like somebody go and wear a costume, as long as this costume, because it can multiply. If it's costume that it's haram in itself, that's one sin. It's a celebration, it's a thing. If I believe in it, another thing. It adds up, But if it's less and less and less and less, just what, I'm dressing my kids going to the firefighter in the school, and you know what, I don't think my kids can understand that right now, or what,
Sure.
That's your call. If you do it, just make sure that especially kids are not mukallaf anyway. It's not going to be sin.
They're not held accountable.
But for the parents, you try to explain. But if you have to make that call to say, you know what, I'm going to allow it or not allow it, you have to understand, where is this fits? Is it like that high? Is it so serious? Because you have to choose your battle wisely also.
Yeah.
With your kids.
Sheikh, you said to not give lectures to your kids about, the essence of Halloween and paganism if they can't understand it. Should I give those lectures to other people's kids? Now, on Halloween, there's a number of options. There's a number of madhabs that happen. Number one is, you know what? We're not celebrating Halloween, but we're going to have candy for the kids who come knocking on my door. The other is, I'm not going to have candy for them, and I'm going to have da'wah pamphlets on Islam to give them, and I'll teach them about Tawheed when I give them when I don't give them the candy, and that's obviously going to get my house egged. And then number three, the last option is that I pretend I'm not home. I turn off the lights. Whoever knocks on the door, there's nobody home. Which of the three do you support?
First of all, I just feel so bad for those who got terrified in Halloween. They turn off the light and the whole house will be in alert. No lights, no noise.
No
just
noise,
I don't want any. Why you have to live in fear and like scare and stuff like that?
Well, they're not afraid. They just don't want to interact with these people.
Why? Just chill, man.
Yeah.
I hate when I see people feel like your kids will feel like we're not normal.
Yeah.
Be normal. If you don't celebrate Halloween, I don't celebrate Halloween.
Okay.
By the way, alhamdulillah, by the day, a lot of Americans in neighborhoods understand that today. When they don't see lights, like decoration and stuff like that, they're going to knock on your door. And they knock on your door and say, hey kids, sorry, it's trick. There's no I don't have any candies.
Yeah.
So just easy, man. You don't want to answer the door, don't answer the door. But you don't need to make your family live in stress. I genuinely remember some people stress out about this, and it's like a big deal for them. Just chill. There's nothing like you can give. If you don't do it, just say I don't.
Should I give them da'wah pamphlets?
Okay, that's the worst thing to do. I'm sorry. People coming for candy and you're giving them lecture about Islam and pamphlet about Islam.
I'll give them a CD and then tell them what a CD is, and then give them a CD player as well.
I'm worried that this will even became صد عن سبيل الله. And I'm worried that this has blocked people from Islam, hate Islam. SubhanAllah, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu was asked about, do I have to give advice to everyone I see doing something wrong? Ibn Abbas said, no. Allah said in the Quran, وَذَكِّرْ إِن نَفَعَتِ الذِّكْرَ. You only give
Reminder if it benefits.
or advice when you think it will be beneficial, it will be effective.
Yeah.
If it's not, don't. So you know what? That's not the time of it. That's not the time to give any thought. As for, do I give them candy or not? So here I differentiate between two things. Somebody will go intentionally buy candy to give it to them.
Okay.
That's, in my opinion, not right, because that's participating in celebrating Halloween with them.
Okay.
And Fuqaha rahimahullah ironically talk about this, about some of A'yad al-Mushrikeen, Ibn Qudama rahimahullah and others.
Some of the holidays of the
some of the
pagans.
holiday in the time, the old
Yeah.
medieval time. So the Muslims talk about, I'm allowed to buy meat and vegetables and fruits and give it to them when they come. And they said no, because that's a form of celebration. Okay, so for me to buy specifically candy just to give it or to put it outside for them, I wouldn't do that. But if they come and I have candy in my house, you can give them the candy.
Whatever I have. It's almost like this is a person who's just asking me at my door.
Exactly.
And so I'm giving them from what I have.
I have a candy, no problem. You know, it is allowed for me to do that. But for you to go buy the specific pot or like containers, like a Halloween, and you put it outside, that's, in my opinion, a form of celebrating the Halloween. And I wouldn't do that. I would not advise a person to do that.
Last question, Sheikh, about Halloween. The celebration of some of the imagery of Halloween, in the sense of it's all pumpkin season. Do you see any issue with people going and buying pumpkin spice this, pumpkin spice that, going to pumpkin patches, like just all of those types of things?
Man, I like pumpkin chai lattes in the season. Just don't even go there. But no, there is nothing wrong with that. And Imam Malik rahimahullah said, is it allowed for me to go to the Christian celebration when they have food and festival and eat from there? He said, no, la ba'sa bidhalik.
Okay.
So there is nothing wrong with that. The default rule is it's hell, you know. But if you buy a pumpkin and you start crafting it like with a scary looking, you know, put it outside, that's intimidating. And
so there's no problem even with going and buying all of this Halloween candy during the season.
No, but I'll advise you to buy it after the season because it's cheaper.
Smart, inshallah. No, that's smart.